Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar and workshop series conducted by TCS in lieu of the upcoming MCS exams happening in August 2025. My name is Nick and I'm one of the lead tutors and evaluators for MCS at TCS. So let's look at the session outcomes. First things first, I'm going to highlight about common reasons which leads to a failure. And for each of these reasons, I will be, recommending certain tips which ensures that you overcome these issues when conducting your preparations focused on the upcoming exam. I know for a fact some of you who are joining us, had sat for the MCS exam previously. So if you had failed, don't worry. It's nothing wrong with you. It's just that you need to fine tune your preparation strategy. And I will highlight what you need to do to ensure a pass in your upcoming MCS exam. And after sharing these tips with you, then I will be teaching you answering and time management techniques, which are crucial to pass this examination. And I expect you to keep practicing these techniques over and over when attempting the mock exams, so that at your examination you are capable of developing high quality answers which are well structured, and at the same time you will always manage your time at your real examination. And I will also take you through one of the questions taken from mock exam 1 section 4, subtask B to be precise, in which I'm going to explain how to implement the answering and time management techniques, which I'm going to teach you in a little while. All right, so before we get into the nitty-gritties, let me quickly remind you of the upcoming webinars and workshops which we have scheduled for you. So the final webinar, exam prep, is happening next Sunday at the same time, 10 GM, 9 GMT or 10 AM UK. And in this fourth webinar, I will be taking you through examiners' comments to make sure that you understand what's expected from you, and how to develop high quality answers and whatnot, the type of pitfalls which you need to avoid as per what's highlighted within your exam blueprint. And at the same time, I will share confidence boosting techniques as well as stress management techniques, which are crucial to make sure that you manage your stress levels when attempting mock exams. Because if you manage your stress levels, if you know or practice stress management techniques when practicing your mock exams, then you can effectively manage your stress levels at your real examination. And then we are kickstarting our workshop series. And the first workshop is focused on your F2 syllabus. So I will be taking you through your F2 syllabus. And after doing so, I will be taking you through one of the mock exams which we have developed, thereby explaining how to tackle an F2 syllabus in the most effective manner. And similarly, in the P2 and E2 workshops, I will be taking you through the relevant syllabus area and also a mock exam, thereby explaining how to really deal with P2 and E2 related questions. And in the final workshop, which happens 2 or 3 days before your examination, I will be sharing last minute tips with you to make sure that you walk into the exam with a high level of positivity. So make use of these free resources on offer. Attend these weekly webinars and workshops on each and every week, which are conducted free of charge, which is the best way to get in touch with us on a weekly basis, and which is the best way to keep tabs about your performance and to see whether you are adhering to the study plan or not. And if you're deviating, you can get recommendations which will ensure that you are back on track. All right, so having said that, let's try to figure out why you failed in a previous MCS examination and how you can avoid a failure in your upcoming examination. So first things first, you need to conduct your personal reflection to figure out what went wrong. You have to be honest to yourself. And when conducting this personal reflection, try to figure out whether you gave your best shot or not. So when conducting preparations last time, you might have, simply dedicated, 2 or 3 weeks for preparations, which is not enough, if I'm being honest with you, because you need 6 weeks at your disposal so that you have enough time to not just attempt the mock exams, but also to conduct revision. Most students think that simply by attempting 2 or 3 mocks, they can pass this exam. If you think so, if you thought so previously, you know for a fact that it does not work. So it's instead, you have to make up your mind to attempt all 6 mock exams which we have developed. And at the same time, you have to make sure that you dedicate a considerable amount of time towards revision, that is the only way to fine tune your answering technique. If you are in a position to develop well structured answers, and if you're in a position to utilize the theoretical knowledge which you have gained via E2, F2, and P2 syllabi, then you'd get extremely good marks at your real examination. So in order to make sure that you are successful, you have to conduct a personal reflection. And when doing so, try to understand the shortcomings which you encountered. In a little while, I'm going to highlight all these things. So try to figure out whether you were exposed to any of the shortcomings, which I'm going to explain in a little while. If so, after today's session, you would know what you need to do to avoid these pitfalls when conducting preparations focused on the MCS exams happening in August. So you need to diagnose the reasons and address them this time. And the easiest way to understand how you should develop your answers, what you should have done, is to refer to our mock exams, the suggested answers, and the answer plans which we have developed based on the same mock exams. So we have, as you know, we have developed 6 mock exams which are intended to cover all syllabus areas. So it's essential that you go through these mock exams and its suggested answers, and most crucially, the answer plans which we have developed focused on the 6 mock exams, so that you are well aware of how to tackle each syllabus area before you walk into your real examination. And the action plan should be to work smarter than the previous attempt, which is to start right now, and at the same time stick to our study plan, because if you attended the first webinar, you know what I'm talking about. At TCS, we have developed an 8-week study plan, and as per the study plan, your job is to master a mock exam per week. So you are supposed to attempt a mock exam. After attempting each mock exam, you are supposed to watch the master classes. That is when you'd learn theory and understand application. After learning theory and application, then you have to dedicate your time towards revision, which is to redevelop answer plans. And once you have redeveloped your answer plans, compare your fresh answer plans to TCS's and keep redeveloping the answer plan over and over until you are confident that your answer plans mirror the answer plans provided by TCS. So once you have successfully done all these things, then you should focus on moving on to the next mock exam. So that's why you need to dedicate a week per mock exam. If not, you will have time to attempt all 6 mocks, but you won't have time to conduct revision. Conducting revision is crucial. You need to test for yourself whether you have gained something via the master classes, thereby constantly focusing your attention towards redeveloping answer plans. If you do so, you will develop well-structured, high-quality answers at your real examination. So stick to our study plan. As per our study plan, you simply need to dedicate 9 hours of study time per week. So we are not asking you to do too much. We are not asking you to dedicate 3 hours on a daily basis. You can't do so. I know for a fact that you have your jobs, your daily routines. You have to spend time with your loved ones. So on top of all these things, if I ask you to dedicate 3 hours of study time on a daily basis, you can't do so. So if you start right now, you simply need to focus on a mock on a weekly basis, and at the same time you simply need to dedicate 9 hours of study time per week. So I'm going to explain the study plan in a jiffy in a little while. So when doing so, you'd understand what I'm talking about. So the smartest option out there is to stick to our study plan. All right, so having said that, let's try to understand the common reasons which leads to a failure, or the common pitfalls students experience when conducting his or her preparations. So practicing just 2 or 3 mock exams or practicing mini mocks is the biggest problem, because most of you think that you can simply pass this exam by attempting just 2 or 3 mock exams. So, or some of you might simply focus your attention towards mini mock exams, where in which you'd attempt just 1 or 2 subtasks. Whereas at your real examination, you have to, across 3 hours, you have to attempt 4 sections or 4 tasks. So there's no point of not attempting exams, so practice mocks under exam conditions, when you have to sit in one place across 3 hours, attempt 4 sections in one go. So that's the biggest problem out there. And on top of that, if you are attempting just 2 or 3 mock exams, you are definitely testing your luck at your examination because you are not conversant with how each syllabus area is tested at your examination. If you had gone through past exam variants or past papers, you would have seen that the CIMA examiner develops 6 variants or 6 different papers focused on each pre-scene. Why 6 variants? Because the examiner intends to cover all syllabus areas across the 6 variants. The examiner cannot cover the entire syllabus simply by, developing 2 or 3 papers. So that's why you'd see the examiner developing 6 different variants. So to mirror the same process, when conducting your preparations, it's essential that you attempt 6 mock exams this time. And why 6 mocks? Because then you are ensuring that you are gaining an understanding of how each syllabus area can be tested at your upcoming examination. So you have to be conversant with how each syllabus area is tested, and the only way to do so is to attempt 6 mock exams. If you are planning to attempt just 2 or 3 mock exams and pass, then you'd have to definitely repeat this exam in November. And half-hearted mock attempts or cheating when attempting mock exams is a problem as well. I've seen students when attempting mock exams, they are not too serious. At the examination, as I mentioned earlier, you have to attempt 4 sections in one go across 3 hours. However, when attempting mock exams, what you'd do is, let's assume you are attempting mock exam 1. It consists of 4 sections. You will attempt section number 4 to section number 1 today, section number 2 tomorrow, section number 3 day after tomorrow, and likewise. Whereas at the exam, you have to sit in one place and attempt all 4 sections in one go without any breaks in between them within 3 hours. So it's essential that you attempt mock exams under exam conditions, because if not, you will struggle at your real examination. Yes, when conducting preparations right now, you can take breaks between sections, but during the exam, when you can't do so, you would be exposed to extreme levels of stress, and extreme levels of stress leads to panic. Panic leads to brain freeze. So it's essential that you experience these problems right now when attempting your mock exams, rather than facing these problems for the first time during your examination. So half-hearted mock attempts won't help you. And on top of that, I've seen students going through the suggested answers, the answer plans, or the master classes before attempting mock exams, which is not going to help you, because there's no point of cheating. There's no point of going through the answers before attempting mock exams. The objective of attempting mock exams is to, first things first, master your answering, time management, and stress management techniques, and also to figure out what your shortcomings are. So the only way to overcome your shortcomings is to first understand your shortcomings. So you are not in a position to understand your shortcomings if you go through the suggested answers, the answer plans, or the master classes before attempting mock exams. So when it comes to mock attempts, do it on your own. Even if you are clueless of a certain subtask, don't worry. Keep moving forward. Try to come up with your best answer. Try to work out your logic as best as possible, because when conducting your preparations, your objective is to fine tune your skill set, not to be perfect. You can be perfect during the exam if you conduct your preparations properly, because even if you screw up your mock attempt in its entirety, you can still fix your problems. You can still gain the appropriate level of knowledge about theory and application after you have watched the master classes and after you had redeveloped the answer plans. So when it comes to attempting mocks, your job is to do your best shot and practice your answering, time management, and stress management techniques. Even if you screw up the mock attempt, don't worry. You can fix your knowledge gaps and issues with application by watching the master classes and when you are redeveloping answer plans. And inappropriate answering technique is a problem because 99% of the students out there, right after reading through the scenario, they'd start typing their fully fledged answer in paragraph form. And halfway through the answer, you'd realize that your requirement is something else, but your answer is headed totally in an irrelevant direction. When this is the case, you'd end up deleting the entire answer and you'd have to start from scratch. And when doing so, your brain will constantly keep reminding you the fact that you wasted time. So you will try to come up with answers as quickly as possible. And when this is the case, you are not actually spending some time to plan out your answer. Instead, you are panicking, and when you are panicking, you are not coming up with the best type of evaluations, or you are not providing the best type of recommendations, so you end up failing the examination. So your job when practicing mock exams is to master your answering technique, which I'm going to teach you in a little while. It is not going to be easy. As per our answering technique, you need to dedicate 20 minutes of your time in each section to develop something called an answer plan, or to structure your answer. When you are trying to do it for the first time, although we are asking you to develop an answer plan within 20 minutes, you will take 45 minutes. That's quite normal, because you are trying something for the first time. But with practice, you will get your bearings with this answering technique. And when you get your bearings with this answering technique, you're not just taking steps towards developing high quality, well structured answers. You are also taking steps towards managing your time, because most students who end up failing the exam complain about time management. So I took some calls last Thursday as well as yesterday, and almost all of you who got in touch with me who ended up failing the exam said that you ran out of time during the examination. So this happens because of you're not adhering to an answering technique, or you might have learned the answering technique previously, but if you didn't practice it, you cannot implement it in a practical sense at your real examination. So it's essential that you master the answering and time management techniques, which I'm going to teach you in a little while. So just learning these techniques won't help. You have to practice these techniques across the 6 mock exams which we have developed. If that is the case, you will successfully manage your time at your real examination, and you will come up with well-structured answers. If so, you can easily gain more than 95 marks at your real examination. And not practicing mocks under simulated exam conditions is a problem. I highlighted this problem earlier as well. So the solution is to attempt mock exams via the exam platform which we have developed. So as you know, we at TCS, we have developed an exam platform which is the exact replica of the Pearson VUE system on which you attempt your real examination. So the best way to attempt mock exams under exam conditions, the best way to be exposed to the type of stresses you'd face when operating under exam conditions is to attempt mock exams via the exam platform which we have developed. In a little while, I'm going to show you the exam platform and what the type of technicalities behind this exam platform. And it's essential that you get your bearings with the technical elements of the exam platform when conducting preparations, rather than facing these technical issues or technicalities for the first time during your real examination. And also, most students fail because there's a lack of technical knowledge concerning E2, F2, and P2 syllabi. And I've encountered this problem mostly when dealing with students who are coming through an exemption route, such as Master's Gateway or the FLP program. So when coming through an exemption route, yes, there are competency exams on the FLP platform or your Master's Gateway platform, but these videos teach you theory, and at your real examination, you should have the capability of applying these theories in a practical sense. At your exam, it is not about explaining theoretical concepts. Instead, it's all about utilizing the theoretical knowledge which you have gained via E2, F2, and P2 syllabi when developing your answer. So it's everything to do with applying theoretical concepts, applying your conceptual knowledge when developing answers. So if you lack technical knowledge, or if you have knowledge gaps concerning E2, F2, and P2 syllabi, you cannot pass this exam. I have to be honest with you. You have to be conversant with the entire syllabus and how each syllabus area can be tested at the exam. That is why you need to attempt the 6 mock exams which we have developed, which is intended to cover the entire syllabus. And if you are planning to just attempt 2 or 3 mock exams, then you will definitely be testing your luck at your exam, because you won't be aware of how each syllabus area can be tested at your MCS examination. So it's essential that you gain a good understanding of all the theoretical concepts. So rather than trying to learn theories on your own, on top of having to attempt 6 mock exams in these upcoming 6 weeks, take the shortcut, which is to watch the master classes. We have developed master classes focused on the 6 mocks, which we have developed focused on the upcoming examinations. And in each master class, whilst teaching you the logic behind each answer, we are also teaching you the theoretical concept covered within each of our mock exams. Also, we are highlighting how to apply these theoretical concepts when developing high quality answers. So the easiest way to learn theory and improve application concerning all syllabus areas is to watch the master classes which we have developed. All right. And shortcomings in application of knowledge, if you don't know your theory, you can't pass. And on top of that, if you're clueless, even if you know your theories, if you're clueless of how to apply these conceptual knowledge when developing your answers, then still you can't pass. So again, if you watch the master classes, you will understand how to work on your application. And I asked you to conduct revision, thereby redeveloping answer plans. When it comes to redeveloping answer plans, you are essentially taking steps to ensure that you significantly improve your application skills. So watch the master classes to learn theory and application, and then redevelop answer plans on your own to significantly improve your application skills. And another problem is relying on past exam variants or past papers. I've seen students trying to go through past exam variants and rely on them solely, which is not going to help you, because for a fact past exam variants are based on a totally different pre-scene, and the internal and external dynamics of a previous pre-scenes company is totally irrelevant and totally different to this time's pre-scene. So when conducting your preparations, it's essential that you rely on mock exams which are exam standard and pre-scene specific. Because, for instance, the business model of Trimayr is totally different to the business model which was relevant for the previous session's case study. And on top of that, the type of risks which Trimayr is exposed to is totally different to a previous company which appeared in a previous pre-scene document. So it's essential that you rely on pre-scene specific mock exams, pre-scene specific resources. If not, you will have to spend some additional time to really understand the logic behind the questions and the answers which the examiner has developed focused on a previous pre-scene document. And on top of that, in order to really understand the mock exams and the logic behind each answers, you'd have to really decrypt the pre-scene info concerning a previous company, which is going to take a lot of time. Why should you waste your time when you are expected to focus on your present pre-scene and conduct your preparations based on the present company in which you work? All right, so that's another problem. So don't rely on past variants or previous papers. And lack of revision is a problem, as I mentioned earlier. Students think that when they have access to our 6 mock exams, and if they attempt these 6 mock exams, they can pass this examination, which is not the case. As I mentioned earlier, after attempting each mock exam, watch the master classes to learn theory and improve application, and your job doesn't stop there. After watching the master classes, try to figure out whether you have gained an appropriate level of knowledge, whether you have understood what appeared within the master classes by redeveloping answer plans. And once you have redeveloped the answer plans, compare your fresh answer plans to TCS's. Then you'd realize what your shortcomings are, whether you had missed out on certain main points which you should have included in your answer, whether you have included unnecessary points within the answer. So all these things can be figured out when you are conducting revision, which is to compare your answer plans to TCS's. And as I mentioned earlier, if you encounter any shortcomings after you had redeveloped answer plans, redevelop the answer plan once more. Keep doing this process over and over until you are satisfied about the fact that your answer plans mirror TCS's. So keep doing this process over and over. That's the best type of revision you have to be involved with. There's no point of wasting time to go through study notes or study texts, trying to learn theory and then trying to work out application on your own. Instead, focus on redeveloping answer plans. And once you're satisfied with it, move on to your next mock exam. And non-adherence to a study plan is a problem. So it's essential that you stick to our study plan, because if you do so, as I mentioned earlier, you are simply supposed to dedicate 9 hours of study time per week. And within each week, you are supposed to master one single mock exam. If you do so across 6 weeks, you will master all 6 mock exams. You won't have any knowledge gaps. You won't have any issues with application. You'd have a total understanding of how to manage your time and how to structure your answers appropriately. When you are geared with all these techniques and skill set, you can easily achieve more than 95 marks in your upcoming examination. So these are the common reasons which leads to a failure, and focused on each issue, I've recommended focusing on each issue, I've recommended what you need to do to overcome each of these issues. All right, so then let's try to understand the answering technique. So first things first, when developing your answers, you are supposed to include headings and subheadings. So focused on each subtask, you need to develop a main heading which is in bold and underlined format. And if you want to further fraction out the answer, you are expected to come up with subheadings, and these subheadings should be in bold format. So what you need to remember is you need to utilize headings and subheadings. Each main heading should be in bold and underlined format, and subheadings should be in bold format. So let's look at what I'm talking about. So we are in section number 4. As you can see within this paper, there are 2 subtasks, subtask A and subtask B. So if there are 2 subtasks in your answer, in your final answer, you need to have 2 main headings. So that's exactly what you can see in here. So we are in section number 4, and this is the first main heading for subtask A, which is in bold and underlined format. And this is the second main heading, which is concerning subtask B, which is again in bold and underlined format. And if you want to further fraction out your answer, you can utilize subheadings, and each subheading should be in bold format. All right, so that's the first element which you need to cover when developing answers. And also, when looking at your final answer, it should be in paragraph form, and each paragraph should consist of 2 to 4 line sentences. All right, so you are not expected to provide answers in bullet points or single line sentences. Instead, per answer point, you need to develop a paragraph. So you'd understand these things better in a little while once I've taught you the answering technique. Let's assume when developing an answer plan for a certain subtask, you decided to include 7 valid points. So if you decided to include 7 valid points in your final answer, there should be 7 different paragraphs. Okay, so don't write the entire answer in one single paragraph, because when you do so, you will not be in the good books of the marker, because the marker will struggle a lot to understand how many points you have included. Out of the points which we have included, which are accurate, which are inaccurate. So it's better to be in the good books of the marker. So listen to the CIMA examiner when developing answers. Provide your answers in paragraphs, and per answer point, develop a separate paragraph. Then the marker can easily count the number of paragraphs and determine how many points you have included. And when you are in the good books of the marker, definitely, let's assume you got something like 76 or 78 marks, the marker will take steps to give you some additional marks to make you pass if you are helping the marker. So it's essential that you are in the good books of the marker. It's essential that you listen to the CIMA examiner. So when developing your answers, your final answer should look like this. It should be in paragraph form. So per answer point, you need to develop a paragraph. As you can see, the answer is not in one single paragraph. Instead, I've divided the answer into several paragraphs, which with the intention of assisting the marker. All right, so that's the second point which you need to understand. And with regards to time management, as you know, in each section, the time allocation is 45 minutes. So when it comes to managing your time, you need to think in terms of managing each slot of 45 minutes each. So there are 4 sections, and for each section, the time allocation is 45 minutes. So 45 minutes into 4 comes up to 3 hours in total. So when you're trying to manage your time, don't think in terms of managing 3 hours. Instead, think in terms of managing 4 slots of 45 minutes each. And how are you supposed to manage your time? First things first, dedicate 5 minutes of your time towards reading the scenario. So when it comes to reading the scenario, it includes the reference material as well. So you have to go through the entire section, the scenarios information, as well as the information presented to you via a reference material within 5 minutes. If you are struggling to do this, I don't mind even if you're taking 7 minutes to go through the entire section. If you're still struggling, then you have to take steps to improve your reading speed. And the only way to improve your reading speed is to start reading. So on top of conducting your preparations for the MCS exam, if you feel that you are a slow reader, dedicate something like 30 minutes to 1 hour on a daily basis to read a book, read a newspaper or whatnot, with the intention of improving your reading speed. Because if you're struggling with regards to reading, if your reading speed is not up to par, then you will definitely run out of time at your examination. So dedicate 5 minutes of your 5 to 7 minutes of your time towards reading. Once you have read through the entire scenario and the reference material, then dedicate 20 minutes of your time towards planning. This is essential. Don't type your final answer, which should be in paragraph form. Don't type it. Instead, dedicate 20 minutes of your time to develop something called an answer plan. So let me show you what an answer plan typically should look like. So this is what an answer plan should look like. So you're not, writing extended or lengthy answers. You are not writing anything in paragraph form. Instead, your job in the first 20 minutes is to try to figure out which points you need to include in your answer, trying to figure out whether you have covered everything which appeared within the scenario, trying to figure out which theoretical concept should be utilized when developing the answer, and how to apply the conceptual knowledge which you have gained via a certain theoretical concept. And at the same time, trying to figure out how you should effectively structure your answer. So in the first 20 minutes, you are planning out your answer. That's exactly what you do in a real life corporate setting. So as I've mentioned in the previous 2 webinars, the examiner is trying to replicate a real life corporate environment. In a real life corporate environment, if you receive a lengthy email from your boss, what would you do? You'd try to take some time to figure out how you should structure your response. So similarly, at your exam, you need to take some time to plan out your answer. And once you have developed the answer plan within 20 minutes, then utilize the remaining time, which is 15 to 20 minutes, to expand the answer plan in paragraph form. So this is an answer skeleton. Flesh out this answer skeleton in paragraph form, thereby developing your final answer. So when you are doing this, you are not trying to multitask, because when right after reading through the scenario, if you try to develop the answer in paragraph form, you are trying to do 2 things at the same time, which is to think as well as type. You can't think or plan and type at the same time when you are operating under a time pressured environment. At the exam, you are operating in a time pressured environment. When operating in a time pressured environment, the most prudent thing to do is not to multitask, but to focus on planning separately and then move on to typing. So don't try to multitask. If you try to do so, your panic leads to extreme levels of stress. Extreme levels of stress leads to brain freeze. You would have encountered brain freeze at your examination. This happens when you're trying to do too much, when you're stressing your brain too much. So don't stress your brain. First things first, read, then move on to planning, then move on to typing. And when it comes to finalizing your answer in paragraph form, when you have already thought out which points you should include in the answer, there's no thinking involved. It's simply a matter of fleshing out your answer skeleton or your answer plan. So you're not actually supposed to think when it comes to typing your answer, because you have already planned out your answer or thought out what you should include within the answer. So it's not too easy to stick to this process. Although I'm asking you to develop an answer plan within 20 minutes, as I mentioned earlier, when you are doing this for the first time, you will definitely take 40 to 45 minutes. But with practice, by the time you are in mocks 4 or 5, you will see a significant improvement in your answering technique, and you will gain the capability of developing answer plans within just 20 minutes. All right. So stick to this process. This is the time management process which you need to stick to. If so, you will effectively manage time at your real examination. And when looking at the typing speed, you should have the capability of typing 20 words per minute. And, in order to check your typing speed, there's so many platforms out there on Google. Go check them out. And if your typing speed is not up to the required level of standard, again, you need to practice. So if your reading speed is not up to par, just like as I mentioned earlier, you have to practice reading. So on a daily basis until your exam, dedicate 30 minutes to 60 minutes of your time to read a book or read a newspaper. Similarly, when it comes to typing, if your typing speed is not up to the required level of standard, take a newspaper and start typing what appears on the newspaper on your computer or your laptop, because the only way to improve your typing speed is to practice typing. So if you're reading and typing is if you're lagging with regards to reading and typing, you have to practice these two techniques on top of the answering technique which I taught you a little while back. And when developing answer plans, you need to understand how much marks are dedicated for each and every subtask. So in a little while, I'm going to explain how to do this mathematically, figure out the mark allocations. So for now, I'm simply suggesting, how you are supposed to do this, mark calculation. So in here, as you can see, we are in section number 4, and there are two subtasks. The weightage provided for the first subtask is 60%, and the weightage provided for the second subtask is 40%. So these weightages give us an indication of mark allocations. So as you know, for each section, the total mark allocation is 37.5 marks. So the marks which are dedicated for subtask A is 60% of 37.5 marks, and the marks dedicated for subtask B is 40% of 37.5 marks. So first things first, you need to understand how many marks are dedicated for each subtask. Once you have understood this, then you can easily understand or determine how many points you need to include under each subtask. I'm going to explain these things in a practical sense in a little while when I'm taking you through the mock exam. So for now, understand that you need to understand that you should not develop answers without gaining an understanding of mark allocations. And do not spend time on formatting, such as paragraph alignment and whatnot. The only type of formatting which you need to be conversant with is with regards to the headings and subheadings. So the headings should be in bold and underline format. The subheading should be in bold format. And when developing your answers, utilize a paragraph per answer point, and each paragraph should consist of 2 to 4 line sentences. And always focus on quality, not the quantity. There's no point of thinking in terms of a word limit or a word count. I've seen tutors out there saying that in order to gain this amount of marks, you need to write or type this amount of words, which makes absolutely no sense. As I mentioned earlier, the examiner is trying to replicate a real life corporate environment. So at office, is your boss going to look at the quality of your response, or is your boss going to look at the length of your response? Your superior is never going to count the number of words of your response. Instead, the superior is interested to figure out whether you have done your job properly or not, whether you have conducted an evaluation in the most successful manner, or whether you have come up with the best type of recommendation. So that should be your concern at this examination. So that's why, answer planning or answering technique plays a major role in this examination. You should not think in terms of the length of your answer. Instead, you should think in terms of the quality of your answer. All right. So having said that, let's look at the steps which you need to adhere to when developing an answer plan. So as I mentioned earlier, first things first, read the scenario, which takes 5 minutes of your time. And after you have read through the scenario, reiterate each requirement in your own words in a concise manner. So you are supposed to simplify the requirement with two objectives in mind. Objective number one is to gain a clearer understanding of what the requirement is. And objective number two is to make sure, whilst planning out your answer, whilst developing the answer plan, to make sure that you are developing an answer plan which is aligned with 100% aligned with the requirement. So let's try to figure out how we are supposed to do this in a practical sense. So if you look at the first requirement or the subtask, it goes as, firstly, identify the different types of responsibility centers and evaluate their appropriateness with regards to the classification of G&G within Trimayr group. So as you can see, this requirement consists of two main parts. Firstly, identify the different types of responsibility centers. So that's the first part of your requirement. And the second part is to evaluate the appropriateness of these responsibility centers with regards to the classification of G&G within the Trimayr group. So this is quite a lengthy requirement, and when operating in a time pressured environment, you might not really understand what this requirement is all about, or whilst developing the answer plan, when you have to refer to an extended requirement, it exposes you to a lot of complexities. So in order to avoid these complexities, as I mentioned earlier, reiterate this requirement in your own words in a concise manner, or simply put, simplify the requirement in your own words. So this is how we are supposed to do it. So we were in task 4, section number 4, appropriate types of responsibility centers for the subsidiary. So this is this is a quite lengthy requirement, but I've simplified it so that I can gain an in-depth understanding of what the requirement is. That's the first objective with regards to simplifying the requirement. And also, whilst developing the answer plan, I can easily refer back to a simplified requirement and see whether I'm developing an answer which is totally aligned with the requirement at hand. So that's the first thing which you need to focus on before you structure your answer, before you develop your answer plan. Simplify the requirement in your own words. And that's the second step. And the third step is to develop appropriate headings and subheadings. I showed you the type of headings and subheadings which you should develop. And when discussing the mock exam in a little while, definitely I will cover this element as well. And after coming up with your headings and subheadings, then you should focus your attention towards developing the answer plan, and a maximum of 20 minutes should be dedicated to develop the answer plan concerning all subtasks. So I'm not asking you to dedicate 20 minutes of your time simply to develop the answer plan concerning subtask A. Instead, I'm asking you to develop the answer plan focused on all subtasks. If there are 2 subtasks, you need to develop 2 answer plans. If there are 3, similarly, you need to develop 3 answer plans. So when developing all these things, you have to do it within 20 minutes. That's why I'm saying that it's not easy. Without practice, you won't ever achieve the capability to develop answer plans within 20 minutes. And when doing so, before developing the answer plan, first things first, develop the mark allocations based on the weightages provided. I explained this thing a while back. And after understanding the weightages, then you can easily, after understanding the mark allocations, then you can easily understand how many points you need to include under each and every subtask, because each valid point carries 2 or 3 marks. So look at the weightages, based on it, determine mark allocations, and assuming that each valid point gets 2 or 3 marks, divide the mark allocations by 2 or 3. Then you can easily understand how many points you need to include in your answer plan. When you do so, you are taking steps to develop answers which are totally aligned with mark allocations. Therefore, your answers will not be too short or too long. All right, so let's try to figure out how to do this in a practical sense. As you can see, the weightage provided here is 60%, and based on it, 22.5 marks are dedicated for the first subtask, because as you know, each task or each section carries a total mark allocation of 37.5 marks. So 60% of 37.5 marks come up to 22.5 marks, and 40% of 37.5 marks come up to 15 marks in total. So if you are to gain 15 marks, let's try to figure out how many points you need to include in your answer. So 15 divided by 2 comes up to 7.5, and 15 divided by 3 comes up to 5. So if you come up with 5 to 7 valid points within your answer, then you will get full marks for the second subtask. So if you are to score 15 marks, divide 15 by 3 and divide 15 by 2. 15 divided by 2 comes up to 7.5, and 15 divided by 3 comes up to 5. So if you develop 5 to 7 valid points for the second subtask, then you will get full marks at your examination. So that's how we are supposed to determine the number of points which you need to include based on the mark allocations. When you do so, as I mentioned earlier, you will never develop an answer which is too short or too long. Instead, you are taking steps to develop an answer which is totally aligned with mark allocations, which is the best thing to do to manage your time and manage your the number of points which you include under each and every subtask. All right, then having understood how many points you need to include, then start developing the answer plan. And when developing this answer plan, do it on the answer screen. Do not utilize your scratch pad. Why am I asking you not to utilize a scratch pad? First things first, it's a separate window on your answer screen. So having to shift between the scratch pad and the answer screen exposes you to unnecessary complexities, especially when you are operating under a time pressured environment. You have to avoid all types of inefficiencies as much as possible. So it's inefficient to shift between two pages. So it's essential that you develop the answer plan on the answer screen itself. And that's the first objective of developing the answer plan on the answer screen. And the second objective is to make sure that you don't miss out on any points which you thought to include when it comes to finalizing your answer in paragraph form. For instance, let's assume you develop the answer plan on the scratch pad, and when developing the answer plan, you intended to include 7 points. However, in your final answer, which appears on the answer screen, you have only included 6 paragraphs. So you have planned to include 7 points, but in your final answer, you have only included 6 points. This happens when you are trying to compare between the scratch pad, the information which appears within the scratch pad, and the fully fledged answer which appears within your answer screen. So in order to avoid this complexity, in order to ensure that all the points which you intended to include appears in your final answer itself, then develop the answer plan on the answer screen itself. When this is the case, when it comes to fleshing out your answer plan, or expanding your answer plan in paragraph form, you can take steps to ensure that all the points are covered in your final answer. And once you have developed the answer plan on the answer screen, then utilizing the remaining time, which is 20 to 15 minutes, expand the answer plan in paragraph form, thereby developing a paragraph per answer point. So if you intended to include 7 points for a certain subtask, then in your final answer, there should be 7 different paragraphs. Don't try to write the entire answer in one single paragraph. Fraction it out appropriately to be in the good books of your marker. All right, so these are the steps which you need to adhere to. And as you can see, you need to stick to a 5-step process if you are to get your answers, if you are to develop high quality answers at your examination. So as I mentioned earlier, you can't stick to this process if you don't practice. So it's essential that you practice each of the mock exams which we have developed under exam conditions, which will make you understand what your shortcomings are. You will be encountering situations where you run out of time. You will encounter brain freeze. You will encounter stressful situations. especially towards the last two sections, sections 3 and 4, you will experience fatigue. Fatigue leads to, unnecessary levels of stress as well. So it's essential that you are exposed to all these types of issues when conducting your preparations, rather than facing them for the first time at your real examination. So the best way to, experience all these things is to attempt mock exams under exam conditions. That's why we have developed an exam platform which is akin to the Pearson VUE system. And when attempting each mock exam, stick to these steps which I've highlighted. Keep practicing them. Even if you screw it up, don't worry. Keep practicing them until you get it right. If so, you will be extremely successful in your upcoming exam. So before I take you through the mock exam, let me quickly tell you the technicalities behind your exam platform. So once you start your exam, you would see a screen such as this, which indicates the number of sections which appear in your paper. There are 4 sections, and the time allocation is 45 minutes each for each and every section. And there are 2 or 3 subtasks in each section. So if you look at the mock exam which we have developed, which is mock 1, there's just 2 subtasks in each section. And as I mentioned earlier, you would see some weightages as well. And once you click on begin, you will start your mock attempt or your real paper. So you will see a timer on top which runs down from 45 minutes to 0. And you will see a section number. You are in section number 1 out of 4 sections. And you will see 4 different buttons. You will have access to a calculator. You can't take a calculator with you. You can't take a phone. You can't have a phone during the examination. That's why you have access to a calculator. You are not supposed to do major calculations. You might have to rework a gearing ratio. Other than that, you are not expected to do any major calculations. So if you want to do any calculations, you can utilize the online calculator, and you'd have access to a scratch pad as well. So if you want to jot down certain things whilst reading through the scenario, you can do so via the scratch pad, but don't develop the answer plan on the scratch pad, as I mentioned earlier. And you'd have access to the reference material via this button. Once you click on it, a pop-up will appear onto the right of your screen. And also you'd have access to your pre-scene document. I've seen students trying to memorize the entire pre-scene. You need not do it. Yes, you need to have a good understanding of the key information which appears within your pre-scene. Other than that, if you want some information whilst attempting the examination, you can click on this button and gain access to the pre-scene document. And once you have read through all this information, you have to start developing your answer plan. So once you click on next, you will be directed to your answer screen. All right. So as I mentioned earlier, you have access to the reference material by clicking on the reference material button, and a pop-up would appear to the right of your screen, which makes your life easy when it comes to going through all this information in a jiffy. All right. And then you'd have access to your answer screen and, develop the answer plan on the answer screen itself. And if you want to go to the scenario, you can click on previous. However, you actually need not do it, because you can gain access to all this information, the information which appeared in the scenario and the reference material, as well as your pre-scene document, within the answer screen itself. So within the answer screen, you can see that I'm still within the answer screen. Within the answer screen, you have access to your pre-scene document by clicking on the pre-scene button. And also via the pre-scene button, you gain access to your requirement or your task as well. So you need not go back to your previous page. On the answer screen itself, you have access to your requirements. So that's why I said you should first things first, after reading through the scenario, focus on developing the answer plan or structuring your answer. So come up with your bullet points onto the left of your screen. Whilst developing these bullet points, you can easily read through the necessary information, because you have a pop-up onto your right, which gives you access to the requirement, your pre-scene document, as well as the reference material. So you have access to the reference material on the answer screen itself. And once you have completed everything, you can click on the submit answer if you want to move on to the next section, or else once your timer runs out, you will be directed automatically to the next section. So let's assume you click on the submit answer button. You will get a pop-up which asks you whether you are sure of moving on to the next section. And once you click on yes, you will be directed to section number 2. And when you are in section number 2, again, you'd see the timer running out starting from 45 minutes, and you are in section number 2 out of 4 sections, and you cannot see a previous button in here. So that is why I said, when it comes to managing your time, think in terms of managing 4 slots of 45 minutes each. Do not think about managing 3 hours at a stretch, because that's not how this examination works. Once you are in section number 2, you can't go back to section number 1. That is why you can't see a previous button in here. All right, so similar to what I said, by clicking on next, you'd gain access to the answer screen concerning section number 2. And within the answer screen itself, you can gain access to the reference material, the requirement or the task or the scenario, as well as your pre-seen document. Okay, so after you have developed the answer plan, close all these pop-ups and start expanding your answer in paragraph form. When expanding your answer, you need not refer to the pre-seen, the task, or the reference material, because you have already referred to them whilst developing the answer plan. So this is a foolproof process which makes your life easy when it comes to navigating the technicalities behind the exam platform as well. So get your bearings with this technique when attempting each mock exam via the exam platform which we have developed. This is the same way in which your real exam platform will work at your real examination. All right, so I hope you'd utilize these resources for your benefit. And before we move on to the mock exam discussion, in which I'm going to teach you how to implement the answering and time management techniques in the most practical sense, before I do so, I'm going to take you to our website, thereby explaining what we offer at TCS. So if you are yet to create a free user account, click on this button and create a user account. And via this free user account, you'd gain access to our student dashboard. And once you are in our student dashboard, click on my courses, and in front of MCS free, you'd see an access content button. Click on it, and via this student dashboard, you'd gain access to the recorded versions of the weekly webinars and workshops we conduct. And on top of that, you'd gain access to study material, which comprises of the answer plan of mock exam 1, the syllabus areas document, and the pre-seen mind map. Also, you'd gain access to the mock exams, the questions and answers of mock exam 1. And via the exams tab, you will gain access to our exam platform, on which you can attempt the entire mock exam 1 to be precise, via the exam platform under exam conditions, which is the best way to practice your answering and time management techniques which you learned right now. So try to figure out what your shortcomings are when you're operating in a time pressured environment by attempting MCS Mock 1 via the exam platform. And these resources are on offer via the free content. And if you are interested in investing on our paid content, click on this button and go through the sample material which we have provided to gain an understanding of the type of services we are offering at TCS. And if you're yet to join the MCS WhatsApp group, click on this button and join it. Via this group, we'd keep you guys informed about the weekly webinars and workshops, the commencement dates and times. And on top of that, if you have any questions, you can always get them answered. Myself and Jared are always there to help you guys out. And via this group, we will be sharing codes of free resources as well. So make sure to join our MCS WhatsApp group by clicking on this button. And talking about what we offer 2 packages, the essential course and the premium course. The essential course is designed for those who have completed their OTQ exams or those who are coming through the general route. So since you have completed your OTQs, you are conversant with theoretical elements, you simply need to work on application in the upcoming 6 weeks. So under the essential course, you'd gain access to the recordings of the weekly webinars and workshops we conduct, the 6 mock exams with suggested answers. So as I mentioned earlier, we have made sure to cover all syllabus areas when developing these 6 mock exams. so that you are not to ensure that you are not testing your luck at your real examination. You will also gain access to the pre-scene analysis videos. There are 5 videos in total. Once you have watched all 5 videos, you will gain an in-depth understanding of what appears within your pre-scene document. You need not conduct your own research. We have done it for you. You will also gain access to the annotated pre-scene industry and financial analysis slides. Let me quickly show you what these resources are. So this is the annotated pre-scene. So via these annotations, we have effectively summarized the entire pre-scene, which makes your life easy when it comes to understanding the most important points. And on top of that, we have also highlighted the possible exam scenarios which can be tested, and aligned with these possible exam scenarios, we have highlighted the examinable syllabus areas as well. And when developing our mock exams, we have made sure to cover these exam scenarios and syllabus areas. So that's what the annotated pre-scene looks like. And then looking at the industry analysis slides, these slides are divided into 4 main parts. In the first part, we have defined your industry. And in the second and third parts, we have highlighted about the trends concerning your industry and the type of challenges and opportunities these trends create. And based on these trends, scenarios will be thrown at you at your real examination. And towards the very end, we have considered a real life company and explained how a real life company, which is akin to Trimayr, operates in this industry. All right. And talking about the financial analysis slides, we have evaluated each financial statement in depth, yet making sure to keep things simple so that you can easily gain an understanding of what appears within each financial statement. So we have evaluated the SOPL, the SOFP, and at the very end, we have conducted a ratio analysis concerning your chosen company and its closest competitor, so that you can easily gain an understanding of where Trimayr stands relative to its closest competitor in a financial sense. So these are the resources on offer under the essential course. You'd also gain access to top 10 likely issues, which indicates the most prominent scenarios which can be tested at your exam. You'd gain access to a case study familiarization kit. Once you have read through this kit, within 10 to 15 minutes, you will gain an in-depth understanding of the technicalities behind your exam. And you'd also gain access to a tutor-managed live chat and OTQ revision cards. So as you know, the essential course is designed for those who have completed their OTQs. So since you have already learned theory, after attempting each mock exam, if you feel that you cannot remember a certain theoretical concept which you saw in the mock exam, or if you felt that you are struggling with a certain syllabus area, simply refer to the OTQ revision cards. In a jiffy, you are in a position to brush up your theoretical knowledge. So the essential course is priced at £249. And talking about the premium course, this is designed for those who had failed the exam previously and for those who are coming through the exemption route. So both these sets of students have the same problem. There are gaps in theory knowledge and issues with application. So we have developed some additional resources on top of what appears within the essential course. We have developed some additional resources with the intention of teaching you theory and teaching you application skills. So under the premium course, you'd gain access to one-on-one tutor feedback on 2 mock exams 4 and 6 to be precise. So let me quickly show you the type of feedback on offer. So as you can see, we have evaluated each and every paragraph, each and every point in depth, with the prime objective of highlighting what your shortcomings are. So the objective of opting for feedback, opting for this type of tutor feedback, is to really understand your shortcomings, because if you understand your shortcomings when conducting preparations during revision, you can take steps to overcome these shortcomings. And if you fix your problems, you will gain extremely good marks at your real examination. So you can see throughout this answer script the type of feedback we have provided. And also we have provided general comments and a mark breakdown as well. And we have also indicated a success rate on a subtask by subtask basis. By looking at the success rate, you can easily understand the subtasks in which your performance was substandard. So this student has gained just 58 marks. Why is this the case? because in almost all the subtasks, the subtasks in which we have used a yellow highlight, you can see the fact that this student has not done a good job when attempting this mock exam. And once you have received this type of tutor feedback, your job is to redevelop answer plans concerning the subtasks which are highlighted in yellow. So that's the type of feedback on offer at TCS. And you'd also gain access to the online mock exam platform, which you saw a while back, on which you can attempt all 6 mock exams under exam conditions, which is the best way to master your answering, time management, and stress management techniques. You will gain access to answer plans of all 6 mock exams. In a little while, you will see how beneficial these answer plans are when it comes to improving your the quality of your answers, and when it comes to conducting your revision. Also, you'd gain access to 20 master classes. So via the free webinars and workshops, we are covering mock exam 1. So we have not developed master classes concerning mock exam 1, but from mock exam 2 onwards, focused on each section or each task, we have developed a master class. So from mocks 2 to 6, there are 5 mocks in total. So in each mock exam, there are 4 sections. So 4 sections into 5 mocks come up to 20 sections in total. So focused on each section, we have developed a masterclass, and in each masterclass, we are taking you through the logic of each answer. Whilst doing so, we are teaching you the relevant theoretical concept covered within the mock exam, and at the same time, we are teaching you application skills. And once you have gained access to these masterclasses, you can overcome your knowledge gaps concerning theory and application. So once you have access to all these resources, you can easily pass this examination. And we are charging £749 for the premium course, which can be paid in 2 installments of £374 each. Or if you opt to pay in full, you can save £100. If so, the price is just £649. You can click on either of these buttons and invest on your preferred course. And having said that, let me quickly take you to the MCS study plan as well to explain what you need to achieve within this week. So we are in week number 3 as per our study plan. As you can see, you are expected to dedicate 8 to 9 hours on a weekly basis. However, within this week, only within this week, you are supposed to dedicate 12 hours of study time. Why 12 hours? Because you have to attempt 2 mock exams within this week. So after you have learned your answering and time management techniques, attempt mock 1 via the exam platform, which can be accessed free of charge. And then after you had attempted mock exam 1, you will definitely realize what your shortcomings are. You will realize that you are running out of time. You will be exposed to stressful situations. You will experience brain freeze. You will understand that you have knowledge gaps concerning theoretical concepts, and you have issues with application. So I want you to encounter all these problems when attempting mock exam 1. And after encountering all these problems, attempt mock exam 2 via the exam platform. Once you have attempted it, watch the 4 master classes. This is when you'd realize how you should have tackled each section which appeared within mock exam 2, how to utilize your theoretical knowledge, and how to work on your application. So you can learn all these things concerning mock exam 2 by watching the 4 master classes. Once you have watched the master classes, once you have learned the theoretical concepts, and once you have understood how to work on your application, do it on your own, redevelop answer plans, try to figure out whether you have gained something by watching the master classes. So stick to the 3-step process, which is to attempt the mock exam. After you had attempted the mock exam, watch the master classes to learn theory and application. Once you have learned your theory and application, test for yourself whether you are capable of developing answer plans on your own, which covers all the necessary points, thereby redeveloping answer plans. Once you have redeveloped these answer plans, compare your fresh answer plans to TCS's to figure out what your shortcomings are, and keep redeveloping answer plans over and over until you are capable of developing an answer plan which is akin to TCS's. Once you're satisfied with this process, in the next week, you should focus your attention towards mock number 3. All right, so start your preparations right now, because if you don't do so, if you wait until the last 2 or 3 weeks, you won't have enough time to conduct revision, because as I mentioned earlier, you have to keep redeveloping answer plans over and over until you are satisfied that you are capable of developing answer plans which are akin to TCSs. So you won't have enough time to redevelop answer plans if you start your preparations 2 or 3 weeks leading up to your examination. So start right now to avoid a disappointment at your real examination. All right, so that's what you are supposed to do within this week. And this week is going to be the most hectic one when you look at the remaining weeks, in which you are simply supposed to focus on one single mock exam without having to attempt multiple mock exams and conduct revision based on the same mock exams. All right, so that's what we offer. Having said that, let's move on to the discussion of mock exam 1. Before I do so, let me quickly remind you of the 5-step process answer planning technique. First things first, read through the scenario, which is going to take 5 minutes of your time. All right, so let's try to figure out how you should do this in a practical sense. So we are in section number 4. The time allocation is 45 minutes. A month has passed. Trimayr has successfully acquired an 80% stake in GNG, with the remaining 20% being owned by the 2 founding shareholders of GNG. So let's try to figure out what this GNG is all about. So this last section is aligned with the theme of this mock exam, and the theme is an acquisition. So we are contemplating, in the first section, we are contemplating of acquiring a company. And in the second section, we have actually moved on to acquire the company. And what type of a company are we acquiring? The board has identified Grace and Glamour Salons, or GNG, a leading chain of upmarket full-service beauty salons in Dazzland, as the preferred acquisition target. So we are contemplating about acquiring a leading chain of upmarket full-service beauty salons with the intention of expanding our market share. All right, so that's what GNG is all about. So this section, and when by the time we are in section number 4, a month has passed and Trimayr has successfully acquired an 80% stake in this new salon chain, with the remaining 20% being owned by the 2 founding shareholders of GNG. The existing management team at GNG has been retained. Megan, our senior finance manager, is on leave, and you have received the following email from our finance director. So the subject goes as new subsidiary. Hi, finance manager. I'm pleased to inform you that the acquisition of GNG has been successfully concluded. I really appreciate the assistance you and the finance team offered to the board over the past few months. I would appreciate your input on a couple of more important matters in the last board meeting in relation to post-acquisition strategy. So you are supposed to provide some type of assistance with regards to the post-acquisition strategy. Please refer to the board meeting minutes I have attached for more details. So let's look at the reference material, extract from board minutes. The board considered 2 important matters pertaining to the post-acquisition strategy of GNG. Firstly, the type of responsibility center GNG should be for internal performance management purposes within the Trimayr Group. The discussion focused on aligning GNG's strategic goals with the broader objectives of Trimayr Group. Secondly, the CEO suggested that we assemble a team with the task of effectively integrating both companies and to formulate a strategic plan overlooking the medium to long-term future of the subsidiary. The board agreed to discuss further on this in the next meeting. The board agreed to meet again to discuss these issues further. So these are the information shared with you. So in today's session, I'm simply going to direct your attention towards subtask B. So let's look at the requirement. Recommend with reasons the approach Trimayr should take in creating an effective team that can carry out the given assignment successfully. So we have read through the scenario. Then your next step is to reiterate the requirement in your own words in a simpler manner. So you are expected to simplify this requirement. So how we should simplify it? We are in task 4, subtask B. I've simplified it as recommendation of the approach to create an effective team. So how should we create an effective team when combining these 2 companies, GNG and Trimayr, thereby forming a new subsidiary? So the requirement is quite long as per the paper. Recommend with reasons the approach Trimayr should take in creating an effective team that can carry out the given assignment successfully. And with the intention of gaining a clearer understanding, I said that you are supposed to simplify the requirement. I've simplified it as recommendation of the approach to create an effective team, or how to create an effective team when forming the subsidiary. All right, so that's the second step. Reiterate the requirement in your own words, then develop the headings and subheadings. So I've come up with a main heading which goes as this: recommendation of the approach Trimayr should take in creating an effective team that can carry out the given assignment successfully. Or you can come up with a simplified heading which goes as creating an effective team. So you can come up with an extended main heading or a simplified main heading. It's up to you to decide what to include. All right, so I've come up with a main heading, and after doing so, your next step is to develop the answer plan. And when developing the answer plan, first things first, determine mark allocation based on the weightages provided. So as I mentioned earlier, the weightage provided is 40%, which indicates that 40% of 37.5 marks are dedicated for this subtask. So 40% of 37.5 marks come up to 15 marks in total. And assuming that 2 or 3 marks are dedicated for each point, then in order to score 15 marks, you need to come up with 5 to 7 valid points. 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. 15 divided by 3 is 5. So if you come up with 5 to 7 valid points, you will gain 15 marks in total. After you have determined the mark allocations, then you should focus your attention towards developing the answer plan or the answer structure before you type out your fully fledged answer or your final answer, which should be in paragraph form. So let's first understand which theoretical concept or what type of conceptual knowledge which you should use when developing this answer. Then let's move on to this answer plan. All right, so this is all about team management, and I'm going to take you through the E2 revision cards which we have shared with you via the paid content. And because this requirement is about developing effective teams, so let's try to figure out how to utilize theoretical knowledge or conceptual knowledge when developing the answer. So this is about team management, and when addressing this type of a question, sometimes students misunderstand the requirement and end up explaining the team development process, which is a 5-step process. You have to form a team, then the team goes through a storming session, and once the storm is managed, then everything will become normal. So this is known as the norming stage. And once all these internal conflicts are managed, until all the internal conflicts are resolved, we cannot start performing. So once we fix all these problems, we can start performing. And then the last stage is to adjourn the team. If you want to call off the team, you can do so once the objectives are met. So this question is about forming an effective team. This is not about the explaining the processes you have to go through when forming a new team. So most students, when going through this type of a question, not most students, some students, when going through this type of a question, will misunderstand the requirement and therefore explain about how to form a team. However, as per the requirement, it is not only to explain how to form a team, it is to explain how to form an effective team. So this process is irrelevant to the answer. Instead, you need to consider what Weil has said about what we need to do when it comes to developing high-performing teams. All right. So first things first, when developing effective teams or high-performing teams, you have to clarify the broad purpose of the team and determine the near-term objectives. You need to explain to all the team members what they are intended to achieve. Therefore, you need to set an objective for the entire team. And you have to ensure that everybody is committed to the purposes of the team. So when selecting team members, you have to make sure that everybody voluntarily joins the team. We should not force someone to join a team. If so, he or she won't commit to the team. So in order to ensure commitment, we have to, when, recruiting individuals to the team, we have to see whether they are committed and whether they like to be part and parcel of the team. And the teamwork should be focused on the task at hand. So in order to determine the task, first things first, you have to set the objective. So that's why I said, first things first, you have to set the objectives. After setting the objectives or the long-term goals of the team, then you can determine the several different tasks which should be carried out by the individuals within the team. And there should be strong and clear leadership. Without strong and clear leadership, we cannot make sure that the team achieves its objectives. And also, uh, open thinking or open-mindedness should be present within the team, which leads to innovative ways in which we operate. So according to Weil, these are the elements which we need to cover if we are to develop effective teams. So this is the type of information or knowledge which you should utilize when developing this answer. So when developing the answer, your job is not to explain all these points, the theoretical concept. You are not supposed to mention this individual's name. Instead, you are supposed to utilize this knowledge and implement it or apply this knowledge considering the information shared with you. So as per the scenario, we are trying to converge when setting up the subsidiary. We are trying to merge the two companies together, converge the different systems and cultures of G&G and Trimayr together. And when doing so, we are supposed to, in order to do this in the most successful manner, we are supposed to come up with a team. So as per your requirement, as per what appeared within your reference material, the board intends to achieve two different things. The CEO suggests that we assemble a team with the task of effectively integrating both companies. So first things first, we are forming this team with the objective of integrating both the companies. And the second objective is to formulate a strategic plan. So when setting up the team, we are trying to achieve two main objectives. First things first, we have to make sure that we integrate both these companies in the most successful manner. Then the team should focus their attention towards formulating a strategic plan to ensure the future success of this subsidiary. So when developing your answer, your first step is to determine the team's goals. That's exactly what is highlighted in here. You need to explain the broad purposes and the near-term objectives. So with that in mind, you have to determine the team's goals. As per the CEO, we are trying to achieve an effective integration of both companies. So this is where application comes into play. You are developing an answer which is not theoretical. Instead, you are utilizing conceptual knowledge, but you are always making sure to use the information which was shared with you via the scenario or the reference material. So when determining the team's goal, we should address the needs as per what's highlighted within the reference material. As per our CEO, when forming the team, one of the objectives is to integrate both the companies and also to come up with a short to medium term plan for the subsidiary or coming up with a strategic plan. And after determining these things, we have to break down these goals into specific objectives, considering various aspects and areas. There are two main areas with regards to integration and with regards to strategic planning. When it comes to integration, it's everything to do with managing the different cultures of the two organizations, because I've dealt with companies in which the acquired companies' employees are always fearful of losing their jobs, and the acquired companies as well as the company which acquired the company, the employees of both the companies will be exposed to culture shock, especially the employees in which employees of the smaller company or the acquired company. So in order to make sure that we manage the cultures of both the companies in the most effective manner, we have to communicate with all employees. We have to resolve conflicts. We have to manage change in the most impactful manner. We have to make sure that the different systems are integrated appropriately. So that's why we need project management specialists within the team. And on top of that, we need IT or IS specialists as well. We need HR type individuals who are supposed to resolve conflicts and manage the cultures and provide appropriate leadership. And on top of that, we have to see how we manage the financial elements as well. So we need some finance guys on board as well when it comes to integrating the companies. And on top of that, when it comes to strategy formulation, we have to have skilled and capable decision makers from both Trimayr and GNG to make sure that the combined entity functions properly in the most successful manner in the future. So that's why we have to break down the various elements into specific objectives. And then we have to assemble a team based on defined objectives to ensure the right personnel comprise within each and every team. And the selected team must be briefed on the objectives of the entire team, the milestones which we are intended to achieve in order to achieve the objectives, and the timelines in which we have to complete all our requirements or our tasks. So all these things are tied to determining the team's goals. And after doing so, after determining the objective of the team or the goal of the team, then we need to think in terms of team composition. So the team should comprise of a senior management personnel, specifically from Trimayr, because we acquired GNG to ensure sufficient authority and standing to represent Trimayr's objectives. So we acquired this company with the intention of increasing our dominance, increasing our market share. So there should be a senior management personnel who is looking into the affairs of this team, who is spearheading this team to make sure that we are achieving the overall objectives in a post-acquisition scenario. And also, we have to make sure that the team members possess the relevant expertise and experience. So there should be a set of individuals who are experienced in integrating teams, and there should be a set of people who are experienced in strategy formulation. And also, these team members should possess strong interpersonal and communication skills, especially given the fact that we are not only dealing with Trimayr's employees, we are dealing with a new set of employees who had come from GNG. So we have to manage the culture, the communications and whatnot. So there should be strong interpersonal and communication skills within the employees who make up this new team. And it's preferable to create a team comprising of both Trimayr's and GNG's employees, because then we are not leaving aside GNG's objectives, GNG's needs. Instead, we are taking steps to ensure that both the company's employees are represented. If each employee from each company is experiencing some type of issue in this integration process, they can easily reach out to their own representative. For instance, let's assume GNG's employees are facing some type of an issue when forming the subsidiary. Then rather than these GNG employees having to get in touch with us, they can easily get in touch with their own representatives who are from within GNG, which makes the convergence process foolproof, and this leads to a smoother convergence process. So the joint team could create a stronger spirit of cooperation as well, which will ensure that we achieve our goals in the most successful manner. And when forming this team, we should make sure that the team members are willing to be part of this team in a voluntary manner. I highlighted this point as well. They should be committed to the purpose. In order to ensure commitment, we have to ensure that they like to be part and parcel of this team. We should not force anyone to join this new team. This is done to gain active participation and commitment. So that's with regards to team composition. And with regards to managing this team, we have to think in terms of how we are managing this team as well. We have to appoint a designated leader to provide direction and guidance to the entire team. And also, when we appoint a strong leader, he or she can encourage communication between team members, which is essential when forming a new team. This leads to better coordination, and when everybody understands each other, this leads to better teamwork. Better teamwork leads to achieving the team's goals or objectives. And also, we should form communication and reporting lines as well, with the intention of managing this team. If not, nothing will get evaluated or appraised. Performance will not get appraised if we don't have reporting lines and appropriate communication lines. And when when setting up these communication and reporting lines, we should opt for informal ways as much as possible, especially concerning communication. We should not opt for formal communication at all times, especially when setting up a new team, because this is an action-oriented assignment. There should be open communication between employees of both companies who should comprise of this new team. So to ensure that there is open communication, it's best that we go for informal communication. And if something needs to be formalized, then we can go for formal communication. So when setting up a new team, when there is action-oriented work happening, it's essential that we go for informal communication, which ensures that everybody voices out their opinion. Everybody has the opportunity to talk to each other, communicate with each other, because communication is the key towards fixing any type of issue out there. So that's how we should tackle team management. So when setting up the reporting lines, yes, you can go for a hierarchical process, a formal process, but when it comes to handling communication, yes, you need to. It is a must that you rely on formal communication, but in order to make sure that everybody contributes effectively, to make sure that we manage the conflicts effectively, we should encourage informal communication as well, as much as possible. So when addressing this question, it was about forming an effective team. So when it comes to forming an effective team, first things first, determine the team's goals. After doing so, think in terms of the team composition, how we are going to recruit, what type of people, what type of skill sets we are looking for, and then think in terms of how we should manage this team, because we have to think about, after setting up the team, how we are supposed to manage this team. So as you can see, I've utilized the theoretical knowledge which I've gained via the E2 syllabus concerning forming effective teams. However, this is not a highly theoretical answer. Yes, I've utilized my theoretical knowledge, but when developing the answer, I've worked on application, or I've come up with practical recommendations. At the same time, when developing the answer, I've considered the exact information which appeared within your scenario. So as per the scenario, the objective of setting up this team is to make sure that strategies are developed appropriately and we are integrating the employees of both the companies when setting up the subsidiary. So I've considered both these objectives in the first part of my answer. And when it comes to team composition, I've covered both these elements as well. I said that we need HR type of guys, project management guys, change management type of individuals, and change managers rather. And on top of that, we need decision makers to handle the strategic planning element. And then I've moved on to team management at the very end of my answer. After you have developed this type of an answer plan, then your next step is to expand the answer plan in a paragraph form, which takes 20 minutes of your time. So based on each and every point you have highlighted in here, you need to come up with a separate paragraph. So your final answer should look like this. Your final answer should not be in bullet points or single line sentences. Instead, utilizing the remaining time, which is 15 to 20 minutes of your time, you have to flesh out your answer plan in paragraph form. Okay, so that's how you should tackle this answering technique. I hope you'd practice this answering technique when attempting mock exam 1, because as I mentioned earlier, you have access to mock exam 1 via our exam platform free of charge. So do it under exam conditions. Try to figure out what type of issues you experience. Try to figure out whether you are successful in managing your time or implementing this answering technique. And from mock 1 onwards, your job should be to keep practicing these answering and time management techniques and fix all your problems tied to theory knowledge and application when conducting revision. So don't go through the answers, the suggested answers, the master classes, or the answer plans, just like I explained the answer concerning subtask B of section 4. We have conducted our master classes in which, whilst taking you through the logic of each answer, we have taken steps to teach the relevant theoretical concept and at the same time explain how to work on your application. So you can learn all these things once you have watched the master classes. When attempting mock exams, do it on your own. Try to figure out whether your brain is working properly, whether you have understood the requirement. The objective of attempting mocks on your own is to master your answering, time management, and stress management techniques, and also to figure out what your shortcomings are. And you can fix all these shortcomings when conducting revision, which is to redevelop answer plans. So after watching the master classes, redevelop the answer plans. Once you have redeveloped the answer plans, compare your answer plans to TCS's to see whether you have covered all these points. If you are not too satisfied with it, redevelop the answer plan once more. Keep doing this until you are in a position to replicate the answer plans or highlight all these points which we have included within this answer plan. And if you stick to this process, across 6 weeks, you are trying to master 6 mock exams, and at your exam, you will not struggle. Instead, you'd get extremely good marks. All right, so that's why we achieved a 92% pass rate in the February sitting. And this student joined the classes just 4 weeks before the exam. Don't wait until the last 4 weeks just because this individual joined before 4 weeks. I'm not asking you to do the same. Start right now so that you have some additional time to focus on your revision. And this individual ended up scoring 97 marks by sticking to our study plan. So you can achieve the same feat if you stick to the study plan and focus your attention towards mastering 6 mock exams in the upcoming 6 weeks. All right, so having said that, it brings us to the Q&A session. I'm going to pause the recording. If you have any questions or concerns, you can drop us a message via the chat or switch on your mic and have a chat with us. I'm going to pause the recording. All right, folks, thank you very much for those questions. I hope I addressed everything. So if you want to contact us, you can do it via our website, which is www.study@tcs.com. So visit our website and click on the contact button and drop us a message. Our admin staff will get in touch with you via email during office hours, or you can instead email us directly via info@study@tcs.com, or simply drop us a message via our WhatsApp number. And I urge you guys to follow us on our social media handles, especially TikTok and YouTube, because the recorded versions of the weekly webinars and workshops will be uploaded on our YouTube handle. And via TikTok, you would gain access to 6 videos, which is a good mind map of the entire pre-scene. So from today until your examination, keep watching these 6 videos over and over so that you are conversant with what appears within your pre-scene document. And I urge you guys to read through our blog post concerning Trimayr as well. So click on the blog area and read through this blog post to gain a good understanding of what your pre-scene is all about. And having said that, it brings us to the end of the most important webinar, which is the third one. I hope you gained an in-depth understanding of how to structure your answers and how to manage your time. And at the same time, you understood the type of pitfalls you need to avoid when conducting your preparations focused on the upcoming examination. And I hope you'd implement these techniques which you learned in today's session when attempting each of your mock exams. So even if you don't invest on paid content, under the free content, you have access to our exam platform on which you can attempt mock exam 1. I hope you will implement the answering and time management techniques which you learned today and test for yourself as to whether you are successful when it comes to implementing these techniques. I hope you'll start preparations right now, thereby attempting a mock exam per week and conducting revision focused on the same weekly mock exam. And I expect to see you guys next Sunday at the 4th webinar, in which I'm going to take you through examiners' comments and also share confidence boosting techniques with you. And lastly, I will be sharing stress management techniques with you as well. So thank you for joining. I'll see you guys next Sunday.